Hey there, it's Carolyn again, COO of Bryn, and I'm back in my home again to share with you some progress in reference to ecoMasters. Why am I even talking about them? Well, the ecoMasters team are avid users of Bryn, and so I'm supporting them as they do their magic on my home. And so through a lot of watching of Bryn and learning about different things about business, they are applying it to their business, and I get the fruits of that labor as they work their magic in my home. So for those that haven't been seen my previous live feed, what they're doing is they're making my home very energy efficient. It was very lacking in energy efficiency before. And so in this room that I am in now, this is the west facing room of my home, which here in Australia means that the sun sets on the west and it's the hottest part of the house. Now, before, and you can do a certain amount to your home yourself, and I certainly did that over the last few years. I've put special blinds on the window, both inside and out, and that has made a difference. It has made it 10 degrees cooler in here in the summer, but not enough to make a substantial difference. And that's when I went out and sought the assistance of ecoMaster to say, look, what else can I do? Now, to give you an example, this ceiling here, this part of the house is only one story. And what happens is that this is full western sun in the afternoons. And I have had other people come and have a look and look at the possibility of having insulation in this roof. And they told me that it was impossible. And it is a small space, granted, but clearly they weren't interested. But ecoMaster are so passionate about what they do, and they just really want to make a difference in people's lives. And so they're like, yeah, it is a tight space, but it needs to be done, and we're going to do it. And so they spent about 3 hours this morning up in this part of the roof, putting in the insulation that is needed in there. They're very particular in how they do their insulation, in that every nook and cranny gets covered. Now, before they even come to your home, they come and do a report. And this is really insightful. Now, I had a little bit of insulation in the second story roof and, thought that it was doing its job. But I'm just going to show you this page of this report. Can you see this? So this is an infrared imaging they did of my ceiling. And you see those yellow patches? Basically, they're patches where the insulation isn't covering, and it's supposed to be covering, and it's not covering properly. And so here's me thinking that the company that came and did that did it properly, and clearly they didn't. So you can see, if you look you can see it says 5 degrees or 3 degrees. Now that day outside it was 14 degrees, but the ceiling of my home was already measuring 28.5 degrees. So can you imagine what it would possibly be like when it's 30, 40 degrees outside, which it does in this area in the summertime, what that would be like in my roof. So, it's really great to have things assessed. What's fantastic about this report, it was a 31-page report, so it's quite a significant report, and they lay it out in stages. So they look at where you would get your biggest wins. In my case, it was my ceiling and wall insulation, and so getting wall insulation as well is what I'm doing. And so by having those two things done, that is where I'm going to get my literally 70%. 70%, can you imagine saving that I'm going to get in my energy? So that will make a huge difference in both summer and winter. And then so they do that. In the way they write up the report, it has pictures all the way through, because they're here for about 4 or 5 hours doing the research on your home, showing you, okay, this is where you've got a draft problem, this is where you've got a heat problem, this is where you've got a cooling problem. This, all through your house they go through, and then they put out what needs to be done to improve in those areas, and if anything can be done. And then they map it out for you and say, well, if most people need to do these things in stages, and so so that they can budget accordingly. And so they go, well, this is the one you should do first, because that's where you're going to get your biggest savings, and then you can go through. So then you can plan it out over 6-12 months, whatever you want to do. So I highly recommend ecoMasters. It is a pleasure to speak about them and to have them in my home, because they are one of our biggest avid users of Bryn. And so we will continually keep you posted in their progress.